Hi YouTubers, welcome to another episode of Project Aircat. It's been a long time since I've done an update on this particular one. I've been a bit slack. In any case, I managed to sell off the parts of the bike that I don't need and made some progress as well. So what I actually have done since the last time, I managed to loosen those 5 bolts and remove this flexi plate. Now, what you're looking at here is sort of partly assembled. This starter motor ring gear, which I call the flywheel, is actually attached to these things. So, in the center of that starter motor ring gear, aka flywheel, is the clutch spring and a pressure plate for the clutch. So that starter ring gear is attached to that whole lot by some kind of like a rivets. So I actually angle grinded each of those 3 rivets off of this particular disc here, and I actually knocked out the little pins that are actually in those little holes there. I knocked them out because these are no good for the project. You don't need that at all now. So one little technical problem I did discover is that the bolts that normally hold the clutch assembly together are too long to hold this flexi plate to this ring gear, because there are about 6 bolts on the outside. So they look like this. Your clutch bolts. So that's not going to work, so I'm actually going to need one which is about half the length. I think I did find a bolt which actually does work, but you have to basically measure the width of the 2 together, and that bolt cannot protrude very far through the threaded portion, because there are like ridges on the back of the engine, and the bolts actually catch them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take, those are just finger tight right now, take those 5 bolts out and the little plate behind it, take the flexi plate and the starter ring gear off together. Henceforth I shall just call that the flywheel. So I'm going to take the whole flywheel off, make sure it's bolted together properly with Loctite on the bolts. And then once that's done, I need to actually start dismantling the centrifugal clutch, because the 5 bolts that actually hold this in the center of the flywheel, this actually bolts into the flywheel 5 bolts. So it's a 3-stage process. We have to remove those 4 bolts, and that removes the top layer. Then there's a middle layer and a bottom layer. I think there are 4 bolts which hold. So these shoes, the brake shoes on the centrifugal clutch, they come off with those 4. Okay. Then once you've taken the brake shoes off, there's 4 bolts which hold the middle section onto the bottom section. You take them out, and a bearing comes out with that. And the very bottom bit is actually installed in here. So the centrifugal clutch is going to bolt in here. So the inner portion will be bolted in with 5 new bolts that I've got. Then the middle portion with a bearing, and then the actual shoes on top. So that you'll see this component actually sticking out the back of the flywheel, just like that, because the gearbox actually slides over these shoes. So that's where we are right now, and I'm glad to say I'm actually making a little bit of progress. Anyway, have a good day. Oh, and remember, we're looking for something vaguely like that. I'm actually thinking about putting the engine on the front of the boat and having a tractor propeller that pulls instead of a pusher propeller like that. Because the problem with the Hobie Cat is that it tends to sit very high on the nose and low in the back. If I put the 100 kilogram engine on the back, the whole boat's going to be doing that in the water. But if I put it in the front of the boat, it's actually going to sit nice and flat, I think. So yeah, so wish me luck, and I'll do another video shortly. Cheerio.